Hi, I'm Maurice Jackson, also known as Sofee. I'm here in St. Petersburg, Florida, at the Oxford Investment U Conference with Speaker Rick Rule of U.S. Sprott Holdings. Mr. Rule, you're here talking this week on various subject matters. Would you like to just share with the audience what you've been talking about?
Yeah, what I do is natural resource and precious metals investing. The Investment U Conference is a general investment conference, so they cover many topics. I don't pretend to be an expert in all things for all people. I do natural resources and precious metals only, so those are my topics.
Absolutely. And you mentioned precious metals. One of the things I find interesting is your thesis is a little bit different from someone who's a hard money advocate, and that you're not looking for a worst case scenario. You utilize it as 10% of your portfolio for the most part, and you look at other natural resources. Could you expand upon that a little bit further?
Yeah, sure. The 10% that you're referring to is the proportion of holdings that I believe that people should have in physical precious metals or precious metals equivalents. I've been lucky in my life, and I don't need to make a lot more money. I need to keep what I have. And so for me, a large component of my precious metals holding is in gold, because although gold fluctuates in price a lot, the value in terms of its purchasing power holds itself over time. I don't want to have a whole bunch of my cash holdings in medium of exchange like a dollar, which can depreciate, so I hold them in gold. I also own a little bit of silver because I think silver is a great speculative metal. I do that for reasons of greed, not for reasons of fear. And I own platinum and palladium as well because I like the supply and demand fundamentals. Beyond owning the metals, of course, natural resources are really truly the stuff of mankind.
Yes.
If you think about it, everything that we have that's material was either grown or mined. There's nothing physical that we have or consume that wasn't grown or mined. It is in fact the bedrock industry. It is who we are, what we eat, what we do. There's lots of other industries to invest in, but being underinvested in natural resources, in a sense, means that you're unhedged to the basic cost of living, which is not smart.
Absolutely. I've been under your apprenticeship, unbeknownst to you, for the last 5 years, and I can attest my investment philosophy has changed dramatically. I was a bullion advocate, and I still am, but after listening to you and pontificating your points on holding natural resources such as uranium, water, platinum, palladium, you make a very compelling case. And your organization, Sprott U.S. Holdings, can you share some more about what it is specifically that Sprott does?
Yes,
that's unique?
We are the U.S.-based arm of Sprott Inc. Sprott Inc. is a Canadian domiciled and listed public company that's an investment manager. We manage or administer, all told, about $9 billion worldwide. About $8 billion of that is devoted to natural resources and precious metals. We believe ourselves to be the largest focused small cap and micro cap precious metals investment manager in the world. We don't try and be like Fidelity, all things to all people,
Yes.
but we try to be the very best in the world at what we do, which is natural resources and precious metals. We're the U.S. arm. We're the people that U.S. people deal with.
Absolutely. Admittedly, I'm a holder of Sprott, Sprott Inc., and the symbol is SPOXF, and also I'm a holder of Sprott Physical Platinum and Palladium. Could you just briefly touch on those two? What makes them so unique?
Well, Sprott Inc., if you assume that there's going to be a rebound in natural resource prices, which I believe there will be. I've lived through 4 cycles in my life, and I know that bear markets like the one we're in are really sales. They're followed by bull markets. You make your money investing in bear markets. You get your money by selling during bull markets.
Yes.
And I believe that the natural resources business as a whole is very cheap right now. And the consequence of that is to be much more expensive in the future. If I'm right, the shares of Sprott Inc., which is the most prominent money manager in the world in small cap natural resources, should do well. It's instructive to note at the bottom of a bear market that we have in excess of $350 million in working capital on the balance sheet and no debt.
Yes.
So we're low risk from a financial point of view. It's also instructive to know that at the bottom of a 4 or 5 year long bear market, we still pay a 4.5% dividend. So we pay you rent on your money while you wait for the good things that we all hope will occur.
And the Sprott Physical Platinum Palladium, could you touch on that briefly?
Sprott offers up a series of 3 precious metals trusts: gold, silver, and platinum and palladium. We have done that because our founder, the man whose name is on our door, Eric Sprott, wanted to own physical metals, but he didn't want to pay the transaction fees that come with precious metals. If you go to buy gold from a bullion dealer, you don't pay spot. You pay spot plus 3 or spot plus 3.5. When you go to sell it, you don't sell it for spot. You sell it for spot minus 3 or spot minus 3.5. So it's sort of like buying a new car. When you walk out of the dealership, you've lost money.
Yes.
The beauty of having an exchange-traded gold product that trades in the New York Stock Exchange is that you might pay 25 basis points. That is 1/4% to buy and 1/4% to sell.
Right.
Simple arithmetic tells you that a 0.5% transaction fee going and coming is better than a 7% transaction fee going and coming. But it gets better than that, Maurice. Americans, when they buy physical gold or they buy an ETF, which is viewed by the Internal Revenue Service as being a proxy for physical gold,
Yes.
if they make money when they sell it, they pay tax at the collectibles or income tax rate. If you own a trust like the Sprott Trust, you are taxed at the capital gains rate. Regardless of what you think of the ethics of taxation, which we could discuss in some other video, paying them less is better for you.
Absolutely. And if you could expand upon that, do you know that well, could you just share with the audience the capital gains rate that you would be paying? If my understanding is if I own bullion and I were to liquidate my position, it's roughly, is it 28.99%?
That depends on your tax rate.
Yes.
You look at your tax rate, and remember, in most states, there's state tax on top of it, too.
Yes, it is.
So you add your federal tax rate, your state tax rate. That's going to vary from individual to individual, depending on the rate, depending on the state that they live in. From my point of view, in the state of California, I would say 14% on capital gains by being taxed at the capital gains rate rather than the collectibles rate. So it's a substantial savings for a resident of a high-tax state like California or Illinois or Mississippi, New York or Massachusetts.
Yes. You know, one of the reasons I hold the SPP, which is Sprott Physical Platinum Palladium, is I'm a bullion advocate, and whenever I go to a coin show, if I ask a coin dealer, do they have any platinum or palladium, guess what the answer is?
No.
And interestingly, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry, I was in Charlotte at one. And one of the coin dealers actually asked me, why would you want that? The price is going down. What is the premise of investing? Is it to buy high and sell low?
No, that's a very good point. It's interesting, people's relationship with money. You know, when most people shop for physical goods, they're pretty rational. They look for sales. You go to a car lot, the guy tells you a price and you haggle, right? You go to buy a raincoat and you look around for a good deal. You try and buy on sales. But for some reason, people don't want sales with financial assets. It seems like they want to pay too much. The idea that a stock was $10 last week, it's $11 this week,
yes,
and $11 is better than $10 if you're a buyer seems to me to be pretty silly. But a lot of people get it wrong.
In reference to asset allocation, once an individual has satisfied their physical bullion position, do you have any insights on what you think would be a good option?
Well, certainly the most liquid and the most stable, although not stable, would be the senior mining companies. We at Sprott prefer. Well, let me say it differently. Not all senior gold mining companies are created equally.
Sure.
Many of the senior gold mining companies might exhibit very good leverage to the price of gold, but they aren't what you and I would describe as efficient businesses.
Correct.
We look for businesses that generate substantial amounts of free cash flow at this gold price. Some people only buy gold stocks that will do well at higher gold prices,
right,
and we don't do that. We look for companies that have good cash flow relative to their debt levels, and in particular, we look for companies that are having rising production. Many people analyze gold stocks the way they would analyze any other companies on traditional price earnings metrics.
Yes.
Forgetting, that mines are depleting assets, and if you aren't good at replacing the reserves that you're mining, your business is shrinking, even while your earnings from current operations can be high. So using traditional securities analysis on analyzing mining stocks can be tricky or fatal. From our point of view, you have to use securities analysis that are geared to the mining industry, particularly with regards to the efficiency with which they replace their reserves, which guarantees you the cash flow that you're going to enjoy in the future.
Absolutely. And to just touch on some of the majors there, doesn't Sprott have a new ETF out?
Yes, we employ these techniques in our own ETF, the Sprott Gold Miners Trust. The symbol is SGDM. We differ from the granddaddy ETF, the GDX, because we're not market cap weighted. They buy stocks according to size. It's a market cap weighted ETF, the classic passive product. We decided for our purposes that wasn't good enough because we didn't want to own big companies that were unprofitable and shrinking.
Right.
We wanted to own big liquid companies that were profitable and growing. And so we have a very different ETF than theirs. I'm delighted to say that we launched the product in the middle of last year. With only being on the market for 9 months, 6 months, we were the 9th most successful ETF launch in the United States last year in a sector that was decidedly out of favor. So it's very obvious that our product launch met an audience that was eager to buy what we were offering, which was very gratifying for us.
What, would you share that symbol?
The symbol is SGDM.
SGDM. Admittedly, I don't own that symbol, but again, I advocate contacting Rick and his staff in reference for more information regarding any of the symbols that we've discussed. If I may switch channels here, your investment philosophy is to me very unique because you don't just address the traditional gold silver. How did you form your investment analysis? Because I know you're a student of Ben Graham, but reading Ben Graham's literature, The Intelligent Investor and Security Analysis, he really doesn't touch on those aspects, which you now follow. So what kind of got you going in towards into natural resources?
Perversely, Ben Graham. In The Intelligent Investor, there's two parts of Mr. Graham's thesis which I found very compelling. One was the margin of safety. And to understand the margin of safety in a business, you have to understand the business very, very well. Natural resource businesses at their core are not very complex. They're very simple. I grew up in California, and California is the homeland of technology businesses, and they're anything but simple. What I learned in California is that the half-life of a new technology, its technological superiority, may be 18 to 24 months, which meant by the time I understood a business, it was already obsolete. It's easier for me to understand the coal cycle, which may take 10 years, than to understand some new semiconductor chip. So despite the fact that Ben Graham didn't talk about resources, in order for me to satisfy myself with regards to the margin of safety, I had to be involved in businesses that I understood, and that defined natural resources. The second one of Mr. Graham's precepts that really struck me was the chapter about Mr. Market, where he talked about the fact that the market was really a manic depressive, that one day the market was so disgusted with their holdings that they'd sell them for twice the price, and another day they were so elated that they'd buy your holdings for twice what you paid. And he said, being in a partnership, which is what a market is, with a manic depressive, if you don't let the manic depressive force you into his stupidity, is a wonderful place to be. And the fact that natural resources are so cyclical and so volatile made them perfect places to practice what Ben Graham teaches.
Absolutely. If you're not familiar with natural resource investing at all, and it is a new endeavor, completely different from any investment aspect that I'm familiar with, because anyone that follows me knows that I love real estate and bullion, but you also have an investment university on SprottGlobal.com. And that is I believe it's a 12-part series, is it not?
The Mining Investment College is something that we produced in 1996 in conjunction with the Colorado School of Mines. And while the material is a little dated, it discusses market conditions that existed in 1996, it's talking about the technology of mining, which goes back 100 years. It is a pretty in-depth course. I guarantee you'll get your money's worth because it's free, but you're going to invest 20 or 30 hours getting through it. It's a wonderful primer on mining investment, and it's absolutely free.
And last but not least, I wanted to just, if we can, bring up Liberty.me.
Great.
As you know, I'm on Liberty.me, and I was introduced essentially to Liberty.me through Rick Rule. And Rick, can you just share with us your work on there and what you're doing with Liberty.me?
Liberty.me is a site that welcomes people who believe in liberty. People on a global basis who don't believe that they have the right to compel other people to do what they say, but rather an obligation to convince other people to do the right thing. We define ourselves as libertarians, but irrespective of how you label yourself, we would welcome you on our site. This is a site where you can write and be read by others. You can read the writings of other people and comment on them. It's a wonderful site in the sense that the discussion groups are very civil, unlike other discussion groups on the internet that are anything but civil. We would welcome you if you are a liberty-minded person, or if you are interested in subjects like liberty, like freedom, to visit Liberty.me. I need to say right now, I'm not an owner of Liberty.me, I'm just a beneficiary of that community.
And again, I want to thank you for introducing me to Liberty.me.
Pleasure. Thank you for joining it.
Thank you. And last but not least, those of you that follow me, you know that I think that you respect and value my opinion and my integrity to words, and that I've always shared information and I've never sold anything. But much of the ethos that you believe and subscribe to me for is actually because of Mr. Rule. I've learned so much, again, under his apprenticeship that he doesn't even know, because we just met, really. We've corresponded, I think, the last couple of years via email only, but we met one another this week. So if you want to know why invest and only invest with Sprott, is that reason in particular, is integrity of words. You mentioned mining companies, and when you mention mining companies, it's not just what's in the ground, it's management. And to me, the management which you represent and your staff, some of them are here. You have Takoa De Silva, who's new.
Yes.
Great. You couldn't pick a better person, by the way. And Miss Callie Farnham, your administrative assistant. But to me, what I've noticed is the integrity and the expertise that everyone there has in natural resources. You're niche specific. So again, if you're a Googler or Twitter, that's fine. But if you're looking for natural resources and purchasing something that is below the cost of production, and you don't have the time or the expertise, this is who you need to contact, and would you please share where they can locate you?
Yeah, if you're in the United States or Canada, you can call us at 800-477-7853. It's 1-800-477-7853. Worldwide, visit us on the web, www.sprottglobal.com. That's SPROTTGLOBAL.com.
Rick, thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.